Sure. Okay, I got a couple of thoughts quick. One is that the life is a journey and don't hurry the journey. Like I'd say that where you are right now, enjoy it. Like be all present in it because I'm now retired or kind of retired, let's just say that. And here's a newsflash. It's not easier. It's not easier. For me, in some regards, it's harder. So for your listeners that are young, 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to retire. You're trying to get away from something instead of being there. It may be hard, but hard is good. Hard is hard. Just that would be the place that I'd start. And you said something about each day you make a decision. And as I think back on sort of pivotal times in my life, when we had little kids and I was busy kind of doing my thing, I had a chance to go to Washington, D.C. to go to a conference and to play in a golf tournament at TPC of Avondale, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And I'd always wanted to play there. And had the plane tickets, had everything set. And then Carly, our oldest daughter, said, Dad, I have a church talent show on Sunday night. And I realized that Sunday night I was supposed to be gone to go to this conference and to play golf. And I just was so conflicted. I'm like, oh my goodness. And she was like 5 and she's going to sing like 4 sentences or something. And for whatever the reason, I thought, I'm just not going to miss this. I'm just going to start the compromise because it's too simple. It's too easy to say this isn't important and miss it. And then when's the next compromise? So anyway, as God would have it, I told my friend I can't come. And he said, he argued with me. He's a believer. He argued with me, I can't do it. But he was fine. He understood. So anyway, that weekend, I find out that there's a flight at 6 a.m. out of Binghamton to D.C. And the thing doesn't start till 8. So I end up, and it was a whim in that my spot hadn't been filled yet so that I could go. But I look back on it, and Steve, that was 40, I don't know, it was 30 years ago. It was over 30 years ago. And I'm telling you the story right now because it was a moment in time. I had an example of a mother and father that put me first and put my siblings first. Like they seemed to value our life oftentimes at their own expense. So I had that modeled for me. And I just thought, no, I'm not doing it. And I would tell you that when you make the first choice the right one, the second, the third, and the fourth, and fifth, they're going to come to you. There's going to be constantly distractions, but it's easier to make the right choice the next one and the next one and the next one. So I would just say that our life, there's a thought, it's a biblical thought, but it's a thought that says a thought, if you dwell on it, becomes an action. An action, if you do it enough, becomes a habit, and a habit becomes a character. It begins to define your life. And I think, don't ever think that thoughts are harmless. Stuff that you dwell on. And I'm just telling you that you guys, especially your age group and younger, have this phone that you scroll, and every day there's things that you're seeing, you're hearing that can distract you to think about more and hear more. And it starts out as harmless, or so you think. In that journey of life that we're talking about, you can end up in a place that you never, ever imagined. You can look back and think, how in the world did I get here? So I kind of want to throw that out at you. And Steve, I'm going to keep going just for a minute. I just finished reading a book called Open, and it's Andre Agassi's biography. For your listeners, I highly recommend it, and I'm going to ruin it just a little bit. Agassi, who's a great tennis player, said that he grew up and his dad was from Iran, and he said, "You're going to be a great tennis player someday, Andre." His dad was a tennis player, and he made Andre practice every day. Practice, worked hard. Someday you're going to be the number 1 player in the world. And the kid was a very gifted player, and he hated tennis, and he hated his dad, and he hated his life. But at some point around 19 or 20, in his book, he says, I began to believe, you know what? I'm going to be the number 1 player in the world. And that will satisfy my father, and that'll satisfy me. And so he says, like 3/4 of the way through the book, he said, the worst day of my life the worst day of my life to this day was the day that I woke up and I opened the paper and it said, the number one tennis player in the world is Andre Agassi. And he said, at that moment, what I realized was there was nothing there. Like all of the angst, all of the stress, all of the uncertainty, all of the things that he struggled with about purpose and meaning and hope were all washed away. Because until he was a number one player in the world, he thought that might do it. And so for your listener, that God has blessed Christy and I. We had a wonderful business. It was very, very successful. I sold it, did very, very well, have 3 healthy kids, have 6 grandchildren with 2 more on the way, and have been blessed with a wonderful, beautiful wife and 37 or 38 years of just really, really unmerited favor. And I would say all of it without a foundation of purpose and meaning in something greater than Christy, in something greater than my kids, greater than my job, and something greater than my reputation, which at some point, Steve, for me, became just a burden as a small town kind of physical therapist, a small town business owner that treated thousands of patients a year and was, had some success at it, and had a personality that worked well in the world that I was in because I could empathize because I had been hurt in the past. I understood what it felt like to not be. I had the same exact experience. Varsity level athlete in 9th grade, first one picked on all the teams, made all the all-star teams, was set right before I got hurt to go to Europe to play hockey. And now I'm less than average. Now I'm not who I thought I was. Like my world just got totally turned upside down. Without having a deep, unabiding faith at that point, I would have been really lost. Agassi had to come to the grips with there's nothing there. The world made this like really, really important, but I feel empty. And when you have something more than that, and I'm telling you, your last, I guess it was 2 times ago, Rick Yarash, who said, hope, hold on, possibilities exist. Like I wrote that down, I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that one. Like that is, like there's something really, really important for people that are living in a place where they feel really hopeless. I mean, hope is still there. It's like really foundational, but you can't hope for hope. And if you don't have it, maybe you're looking for the wrong thing. And I just bring up Agassi because Agassi thought that being the best player in the world was going to make him feel full, complete. And for those like Steve that you say, hey, listen, I've thought about you. Listen, if what you think has made me successful is my career and my stuff, it isn't. And my kids, and no, it isn't. I mean, it's been an incredible blessing.